I've sketched my way through a few sketchbooks over the last 30 years. Manufacturers come and go, but I can't seem to find the perfect sketchbook. And in this video, I'm going to show you how I use my CO2 laser to make my own sketchbooks.
My name is Eric Strebel. I'm an industrial designer. Welcome to my channel about product design and making. Alfred backpack hanger in stainless steel and aluminum, designed by me, holds your backpack, lets you charge your phone, holds your keys, super versatile. So I'm packing up some here that were recently sold. Thanks for those of you who've purchased recently. It really helps support the channel. This video is sponsored by PCBway. Do you have some 3D printing projects coming up and need some good quality parts printed? Check out PCBway. They have a host of 3D printing options, including SLA, DLP, FTM, SLM, SLS, or even vacuum casting. PCBway can help you on your next 3D printing project. Link below.
My criteria for a sketchbook is that it has to be in this 7x10 wire-bound format. It has to have super bright white paper, and it has to be pretty thick weight paper so that I can take markers really well and not bleed through on the other side. While I do own one of these Wire-O hole punches, that's fine if you already have the paper cut to size and everything. In my case, I don't, so I need to cut the paper out and punch the holes, and for that, I'm going to use my laser.
I purchased a 11x17 ream of this paper. It's smooth, 49-pound, bright white premium paper. Let's compare it to an existing page in one of my other sketchbooks. You see how nice and bright that is? That makes for great scanning if you ever have to scan the pages. Perfect for what I need. I created some page outlines in Affinity Designer, and I've imported them into Lightburn. This is the software that I use for my 50-watt CO2 laser. If you want to learn more about my CO2 laser, I'll have a link in the description below to what I bought and why I bought it, and how to buy a laser. I'll place the 11x17 sheet into my laser. We'll set the height of the beam away from the paper, and we'll cut out 2 sheets per 11x17 using a relatively low power setting with a higher speed rate to speed things up and get kind of the perfect cut that doesn't leave too much soot on the edges of the paper so that the sketchbook stays nice and clean. It's important to clean up the debris that's inside of your laser cutter. This stuff could easily catch on fire, and I've heard and seen several lasers that have caught on fire because of improper cleanliness. For the covers of the sketchbook, I'm going to use this 0.08 inch or 2 millimeter thick chipboard. There's nothing special about this stuff. It's pretty readily available. I'll leave a link in the description below. It comes in a 30x40 sheet size, so I'm just cutting it down here so that I can fit it into the bed of the laser. Again, I have created some outlines in Affinity Designer, and I pull that into Lightburn, and at the bottom, I'm going to fill or etch in my name and my phone number and my contact information, so should I ever lose the sketchbook, it's right there readily available. Hopefully I can recover the sketchbook. So I etch this in, and then I cut out the holes and the outline for the covers. Some cleanup is required. On my laser, the bed is not perfectly flat, and this can lead to sort of imperfect cuts. Sometimes some cleanup is needed. That's what you get with sort of cheap Chinese laser, something I need to sort of fix in the future. Now, the edges will be relatively sooty, and I use a denatured alcohol to clean up the edges of the cardboard. And I use this pretty successfully for, a lot of model making when I'm using cardboard. It works really well. For one of the sketchbooks, I'm going to cover it in denim, and this is an old pair of jeans, and I'm going to use contact cement to attach the denim to the cardboard front and back covers. So I take my denim, this I think is leftover from a pant leg, and I rough size it, and we're going to apply some contact cement. I'll leave a link in the description to the material that I'm using, and put it on both pieces. That's how contact cement works. And let it dry a little bit, flip it over and place it onto the denim. We'll get a really nice, strong, permanent bond. I run over it with a rubber roller so that I get good adhesion and a good long-term bond that I won't have to worry about. Now we're going to trim a little bit of the excess, get it close to the size of the cardboard so that we can fold these edges over. I fold them over and then I trace out really roughly with a pencil, and this is going to allow me to know where to put the rest of the contact adhesive so I can glue and fold those edges over. This is a little bit tedious, takes some time, and then probably the hardest part here is the corners. Now, you may have noticed the pages and the covers have rounded corners. I don't want to have real sharp edges on my pages. I was just going for that kind of look. And what I do is I cut out a small little strip that will fold over that radius corner, sort of the best that I can. And then we'll use the other flaps and we'll cut those at a 45 in the corner so that they fit in with the piece that's cut in the corner, and then that should make a nice transition between the flat sides and the radiused corners. For something like this, take your time, do it right, because it's contact cement. You really cannot take it apart after it's been placed down. And I cover the holes, and then those are going to have to be cut out later. And I use my little rubber roller and press it down really good so we get good adhesion. I do this on the front and the back. And we have some nice, cool, old school denim front and back covers. This is the back side, just like the front. One of the last things to do is to expose the holes in the cover that were cut out from the laser. Of course, they got covered up when I covered the covers with the denim. So I need to go back and open up all of those holes, and that has to be done by hand. I'm using my X-Acto, as this has the perfect blade for this sort of puncture and cut kind of maneuver that you need to do to open up all of these holes. I'm using an X-Acto gripster here. It's modified. I'll actually leave a link in the description to the video of how I make this X-Acto blade. And I have a copper one, a stainless steel one, and they customized just for me. Also, sometimes people ask about what kind of X-Acto blade this is. So these are the hardened blue steel ones, which I like. They last a little bit longer than the regular ones. Super sharp, of course, and I'll leave a link in the description to those hardened blue blades as well. The final step in building a sketchbook is to put the wire binding in. I'm using a 2-to-1 Vario bound here. This is probably 7/8 or a 1-inch wire bound so that I can hold all these 64 pages in the sketchbook. Now I have a particular way that I put my sketchbooks together. If you buy a store-bought sketchbook, it doesn't come bound this same way. It's actually bound on the outside, and that's because of manufacturing purposes. It allows them to put the whole sketchbook together and then bind it all at once. So what I do is I put the opening on the inside back cover. This keeps the sketchbook together a little bit better, but it also makes it easier for me to remove the pages from the sketchbook. Sometimes I sketch a sketch in my sketchbook and then I need to scan it in digitally so then I can manipulate it in the computer, either sketch on top of it or clean it up or submit it to a client as part of a concept or an idea. So I need to be able to access the pages in my sketchbook and remove them relatively easy so that I can continue the design process and use that sketch to develop concepts or whatever project that is that I'm working on. I like the sort of dark burnt edges give you that sort of worn look, in contrast then to the super bright pages that you get inside the sketchbook. And then you throw on top of that this jeans, this old faded look. It makes it look like an old used sketchbook, but it's pristine bright white on the inside. So I really dig that. If I could change something, I think I'd make the little holes maybe just a tick smaller. They're 1/4 inch right now, so 0.25 of an inch. I think I'd come down a little bit, maybe 0.2 square, tighten that up just so there's a little less play. But other than that, I'm very, very happy with how these turned out.
Make sure you give the video a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already done so.
Make sure to hit the bell so you get notifications every time I have a new video.
Also, don't forget to follow me on social media. I'm on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Links in the description below and on the channel page. Rock on. Don't forget to check out the t-shirts and hoodies in the merch shelf below. Click here to check out some of the other design and making videos that I have that you might enjoy.